So I think we may be live, at least for now.
And Andrew, would you do the requesting?
So just a second. So welcome everyone.
Do you want to do the in Pali?
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. So whatever.
So wait a minute, just a second. Let me just introduce what's going on here.
We have two. It says turn up volume, so I think you're not going to hear. Oh no, it's fine. Well, I don't know why it says that.
Okay,
sorry.
So excuse us for the technical interruptions, but we have two people here live. So those who are in the live, and if you could mute, then
yeah, then it won't reverberate during the precepts, so that you can say them out loud.
So Ayanianika will be, this is Ayanianika, and I'm Ayasivijana, and we have two friends, Andrew and Sinita, in the audience who will help us with the taking of the precepts.
So I'm doing the share, is that correct? Okay.
I can do the share screen.
I think I got it.
You've got it? Okay.
Got it. And I can even move it. Oh, that's good.
Okay.
Mayam aye disaranina saha pancha silani yajama Dutiyampi mayam aye disaranina saha pancha silani yajama Dutiyampi mayam aye disaranina saha pancha silani yajama.
Sadhu. And we'll be offering both the Pancha 5 precepts and the Atta 8 precepts, and they'll be interspersed. So everyone will do the Namo Tassa and the refuges together. So please repeat. I'll say 3 times and then repeat after me. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Sambuddhassa Namo tassa bhagavato samma sambuddhassa Namo tassa bhagavato samma sambuddhassa.
So, and I'm sorry, online, I scrolled away from that.
So do you want to do the English though?
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
And are you hearing this? Can you hear it?
Okay.
Yes, I can hear it. Thank you.
Wonderful. Okay, good tech check. All right, so the 3 refuges, and I'll try not to scroll too quickly this time. Please repeat line by line, and we'll do just the Pali. We're taking refuge in the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Saranang gacchami.
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Yampi dhamma saranam gacchami.
Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Pisang saranam gacchami.
Tisarnagamanang nititang. This completes the taking of the refuges. So we're going to intersperse the 5 and the 8 precepts. Everyone take, I'll guide at the points of divergence. So everyone takes the first and second. I'll say it in Pali. Please repeat it in Pali and then read the English. Panatipata ramani sika padang samadhyami.
Panatipata veramani sika padang samadhyami. Undertake the precept to refrain from taking the life of any living creature.
Adina dana ramani sika padang samadhyami.
Dina dana veramani sika padang samadhyami. Take the precept to refrain from taking that which is not given.
And this is the 3rd precept for those taking the 5 precepts, and then we'll do the 8. Kame sumicha chara veramani sika padang samadhyami.
Visu michachara veramani sika padang samadhyami. Undertake the precept to refrain from sexual misconduct.
And now for those taking the 8 precepts, the 3rd is abrahmacharya veramani sika padang samadhyami.
Abraham I undertake the precept of refraining from any kind of sexual activity.
And the 4th and 5th are the same for both. So musawata veramani sika padang samadhyami.
Veramani sika padang samadhyami. Take the precept to refrain from false and harmful speech.
Sura meraya majapamadhatana veramani sika padang samadhyami.
Sura veraya majapamadhatana veramani sika padang samadhyami. And take the precept to refrain from consuming intoxicating drink and drugs.
And then the 6, 7, and 8 are optional renunciant precepts. Vikala bojana veramani sika padang samadhyami.
Precept to refrain from eating at it.
And I'll break this one up. Nacha gita wadita visukadasana malaganda vilepana dharana mandana vibhusanartana. Veramani sika padang samadhyami. Sika padang.
Take the precept break from entertainment, education.
Ujjasayana mahasayana veramani sika padang samadhyami. Imani sika padani silena sukatim yanti silena boga sampata silena nibutim yanti tasma silong visodaye These are the precepts for training. Virtue is the source of happiness. Virtue is the source of true wealth. Virtue is the source of peacefulness. Therefore, let virtue be purified.
Sadhu, 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 sadhu.
Ah, such a blessing.
So, yes, this is really integral part of our path, these keeping these precepts to what is to whatever our our vocation is, our wish. At least five. The five are geared towards non-harming. And so I was thinking about what to talk about today, and I'm very much geared towards the sutta. So I was looking through some notes I had, and I thought I would talk about, well, first I would like to talk about the mind. And this is really important focus on the Buddha's teaching, is that he speaks about the mind a lot. And usually when we think about the mind, we think about our thoughts. That's what the mind is. That's what our thinking is what commonly we kind of assume the mind is. But there's other aspects of the mind, other deeper levels of the mind. And there's our tendencies of the mind. The thoughts, the thinking is just on the surface. And then how our mind inclines is what we think about and ponder about frequently. This is what the Buddha had discovered before he was a fully awakened being, before he was a Buddha, and he was on the path to awakening. He started to examine his own mind. And this is a sutta called the Dvaita Vitaka Sutta. And this is in the middle-length discourses, number 19. So if you wanted to look it up, it's MN 19. And he said before he was fully awakened, he said a bodhisattva, and this would be one seeking awakening. This is the understanding the Theravada tradition, what a bodhisattva is someone who's on the path to awakening. So he was striving for awakening. He started examining his own mind, and he discovered in his own mind there were thoughts that were skillful, and there were thoughts that were unskillful. He divided his thinking. When he was meditating, he saw thoughts arising, so he started to divide them into two categories, and the unskillful and the skillful, or the ones that were towards harm, towards unhappiness, and the ones that were towards happiness and towards benefit on the path. Let me grab something. A second. Sorry. So he started to look at thoughts, and what he was seeing arising, and the class that was unwholesome, unskillful, was thoughts of sensualities, and you might say greed, but the word is kama vitaka. So kama has to do with the senses, and vitaka has to do, it's translated as thought, but vitaka is how we're directing our minds. So if we're directing our mind towards sensuality, then frequently thinking about sensuality, and then we're motivated towards sensuality. So this would be cultivating greed, actually. But he saw this. He saw thoughts of sensuality arising in his mind. And then he also saw thoughts of ill will, vyapada, vitaka. And then he also saw vihingsa. And this thoughts of cruelty or harming. So he saw these, I mean, if you are meditating, you might notice these kind of thoughts arising in your mind, and it might be kind of disturbing. But he just saw them. He just was putting him in that category of the unwholesome thinking. This is the unskillful thinking. And so he just was examining, he did this own self-examination and saw that if he thought, if I acted or spoke on thoughts of sensuality, it could cause me harm or it could be harmful to others. So as a monastic, I get, or somebody who's on 8 precepts, the brahmachari is what the monastics keep. We could lose our status, or we would, if we did certain acts, we would lose. So that was the danger, or the danger of acting on greed, your mind overcome by greed, can cause harm to oneself or others. People do, out of greed, really terrible things. And then, of course, the thoughts of harming coming up. And I don't know, maybe someone gave the example of the mosquito buzzing around, and then the impulse to want to really just smash it. Or if in the kitchen, the ants are taking over and they're wanting to just wipe them out. And that would be thoughts of harming. So if we acted on those, or harmful thoughts, could be harmful speech. We could say something that was really cruel and mean or something like that. Sometimes we get irritated at somebody and we want to say something. So I don't know what the Bodhisattva was observing in his own mind. I don't know exactly what, but he did see these unwholesome mental states. And this is a Micha Sankappa. It's a wrong intention. And Sama Sankappa is a right intention, a right thought. So this is the second factor of the Noble Eightfold Path. And the Sama Sankappa is, instead of having kama vitaka, it's nekama, which is thoughts of renunciation. But that's also translated as being free from desire, free from lust, nekama. And it can also indicate the going forth into monastic life. So nekama, he had thoughts of nekama, which would be just the freedom from sensuality, or the desire to renounce unwholesome states. And instead of having abhyapada, he had, instead of having abhyapada, the ill will, he had abhyapada, which translates as non-ill will. So he was seeing those thoughts also arising. And then avihingsa is non-harming. And I think many people know the word ahimsa or ahimsa, and that's a non-harming. So he had thoughts of non-harming, and sometimes that's described as compassion. So he was seeing both of these arising in himself. And he saw the harm that was coming from the unwholesome, the Micha Sankappa. And then he was seeing the beauty of the wholesome states, the non-greed, the nekama, the non-hatred. You could say it's metta, and the avihingsa, the thoughts of non-harming. So he gave this metaphor according to the unwholesome mental states that were arising of the cow herd. Of a cow herd is taking his cattle through the village, and the crops are ripening in the fields. He had to kind of tap the cows to keep them from going into the crops, because he's in danger of being punished, you know, if he's not doing his job and protecting the crops and getting the cows out to the proper pasture where they're supposed to be going. If he's negligent, he could be flogged or imprisoned. So he's just tapping the cows one way or another just to keep them on course, to keep them from getting into mischief. So it's this kind of like this with our minds, that if we kind of just nudge our minds, oh, he said it, what he did is when he saw the danger in the unwholesome thoughts, when he saw the danger in the thoughts of sensuality and the thoughts of ill will and the thoughts of harming, and so he contemplated, oh, this is harmful. This is on the side of ignorance. It obstructs wisdom and it leads away from nibbana. When he thought like that and contemplated like that, then these thoughts subsided. So that's like the cattle herdsman is protecting himself and the cattle from getting into trouble. There's another sutta where the young bull gets into the barley patch, and the person that's guarding the patch seizes the bull and starts flogging the bull and punishes the bull. So it's protecting protecting ourselves, protecting our minds from unwholesome states, just to kind of really reflect about the harm. If I obsess about sensuality, if I have obsessive thoughts that are ill will or obsessive thoughts of cruelty, I'm more likely to speak and act on them. But it's also protecting the mind from the damage that these thoughts have, that kind of thinking. If we think like that repeatedly, and then it affects our mental state, it becomes a mental state, it becomes a mental habit. And then also it affects our character if we just allow these kind of thoughts to take over and obsess our minds. And or we may be a greedy character, or we may be a kind of a nasty character, and so that so it gets more ingrained the more we allow it to just to be a perpetual habit pattern. So we can observe and see the danger in it, and start changing our mental habits by first of all identifying them, which is what he was doing, and then seeing the danger in them. But also when he started looking at the benefit of the sama sankappa, the right thought, the right intention, he saw the beauty in that. Then his mind was inclining. So whatever you think about and ponder about frequently becomes the inclination of the mind. So if you're frequently thinking of thoughts of the nekama, or you could think of generosity, good, wholesome mental qualities. Nekama can also be understood as like giving, also giving up, relinquishing. So if you have thoughts of generosity, that's a kind of nekama in a way. Or if you think of moderation, so instead of indulging in, just if it's need, like you need a certain amount of food, and you need to get a certain amount of information on your phone, and so instead of indulging in entertainment, or just wasting your time just kind of frittering it away with distraction. Instead of that, bringing up wholesome mental qualities. This is a way of purifying the mind. He said that the cleansing aspect of nekama, of renunciation, there was a cleansing in that it's purifying our minds when we're not so attached to just seeking. This is when we're seeking sense pleasures. We're seeking sort of an entertainment, like the best kind of ice cream or something like that, or I'm just talking about some kind of innocent, more innocent kind of things we could get into, but it's also can be very harmful. So there's that purification aspects of renunciation, and then also the purity of non-ill will, the absence of being free from anger, being free from hatred, that purity of mind. And it also gives way for metta. If we have ill will, it's going to block our capacity to have loving kindness. We can't develop metta will if we're our mind is obstructed by ill will. And then the non-cruelty, the absence, the avihingsa or ahimsa, the purity of that is that we have no desire to harm anyone. That kind of I can, when I think about the desire to harm somebody or something, it almost feels like kind of a crushing feeling, like oh, this is kind of a uncomfortable mind state to wish to harm, you know. And so when the mind is free of that, of it wouldn't even occur to one, and instead we want to help, we want to do things for others, we want to protect, like instead of wanting to kill the ants, I take them out very carefully, and I do, I know that even moving them, they get frightened. I see that, you know, they're, and so that just that caring, your heart opens up rather than getting constricted and painful. So the Buddha was seeing that purity in the Samma Sankappa, which is a second path factor. That's how Samma Sankappa is described is by nekama, or freedom from the sensuality, the non-ill will, and the non-cruelty. This is Samma Sankappa. So he was developing these qualities in his mind and simultaneously abandoning the unwholesome qualities by just through his observation. And then the reflection on, was this harmful or beneficial? And then also that the unwholesome states blocking wisdom, and then and leading away from nibbana. So then the wholesome states are for our happiness, our benefit. They foster wisdom, and they lead us towards nibbana. So this is how essential this examination of our own minds is, and clarifying the mind is as much as possible. So so he did this repeatedly, and it got to a point where he was abandoning the unwholesome states, and that all that was arising in him was the wholesome states. And so he thought he could think a day and a night, or all day and all night, and he didn't see any harm in that, except that his mind and his body became tired. from all that thinking. So it was so at that point, the unwholesome states were not intruding on his mind, and it was all just the wholesome states. And then he said that did see himself getting weary from his body became weary and his mind became stressed from just contemplating the wholesome again and again. And so he said it was he just allowed his mind to become more still and just not really uh, actively contemplating these states. He was just aware of those states and allowing his mind to settle. Just all that was arising was the wholesome. So he was just able to relax and not really actively working with them. And he said it was like the cow herd at the end of the season in the summertime when all the crops are harvested. Then the cow herd doesn't have to worry. The cow herd, because the cattle could go into the fields where the crops had been raised, and they could graze in the fields after the harvest is done. They could, what was left, the fodder that's left behind. So he could just sit in the shade of a tree and just be aware of those cows, that those cows are there. He didn't have to worry about the cows. And so it's the same way with the mind, that they're just aware that those thoughts are there. There's no concern because these are wholesome mental states. But then because of that, that allowed his mind to come more easily to stillness. And then he started directing. This is where the vitaka from thought becomes directed towards our object of meditation. So in the jhanas, the vitaka vichara, this is sometimes translated as directed thought and applied sustained thought. Yeah. So vitaka vichara, but the vitaka is directing it, our mind silently. It's not like I will pay attention to my breath. Maybe you say that at the beginning of the session. This is what I'm planning to do in my mind. I will watch my breath. But after I establish on the breath, since his mind was so settled from doing this work of examining his thoughts and abandoning the unwholesome and establishing himself in the wholesome, his mind went into samadhi, went into sama samadhi, into jhana. And so went into the first, second, third jhana, and then fourth jhana. And then he was able to realize awakening. So this is actually, so how important this is, that the Buddha became fully awakened. Other practices he was doing too, but this is what he is described in this particular sutta, a method he was using, probably in conjunction with others, but particularly how he awakened. So this is something that we can use as a guideline for our own practice. And when you read it, it just sounds like maybe that just happened in a day or two, or one day or something, but it probably he worked on it for quite some time. I'm guessing. And for us too, to be patient with ourselves. And what I love about the sutta is the Buddha was a human being just like us. And he's describing mental states that all of us have, and us not to be ashamed, oh, I'm having this cruel thought or this thought of sensuality. Not to be like, oh, that I'm worthless meditator or something like that, but more that, oh, bringing awareness to it, this has arisen in my mind, and seeing the danger, seeing the disadvantage, seeing how it's obstructing our capacity to have a pure mind. So I offer this for your reflection and can open this up for any comments or questions.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
So does anyone have a question? You can put up a virtual hand or a flush hand. Andrew has a question.
It's not a question,
Comment.
just a comment. Again, it has affected our sons a great deal. It's joy to my heart that my son no longer kills. He traps them and hands them to me and says, "You get to deal with it. I'm not killing them. You get to deal with it." I said, "Okay."
That's a good trade-off. Could you hear that online?
Could you hear what Andrew said?
No, couldn't hear it.
Oh,
"Oh,
okay.
I'm sorry."
Okay, we can
Shall I
recap it.
reprise
Yeah. Or
Um,
do you want to say it again louder?
Okay.
The recap is Andrew has sons living with him at home who are noticing the behavior of the parents and have stopped killing insects even in the house. So they collect the bug and then bring it to Andrew and say, well, you deal with it since I'm not killing it anymore. And so that Andrew can take it outside and set it free, or
Mhm.
and so that it affects those we live with. And
All right.
so
Wow, that's wonderful.
So that's one example of how we can be an influence on others. And yeah, so that brings you joy that by your example, your sons are not harming.
Mhm. And that's exactly an example of putting the two sides, it's like the killing, oh, that's in the side of harm, and the moving it elsewhere, that's in the side of skillful. And so by showing that and doing that example, not only did it purify your own heart and mind, it helps others around you to make the same choices. It's very beautiful.
And do you have a
Oh, I've just been yelling at my young dog because she's on leash. She's a big dog, and I'm afraid of falling. And I've, you know, I feel terrible that I yell at her. So this is a good lesson for me today. I don't want to keep, I'll keep more treats in my pocket. But I enjoyed the cowherd simile. I never really quite got it. I don't know why. I feel much clearer today now. So thank you so much. That was really beautiful.
yeah, so it's kind of yeah, for your dog to very kindly maybe because the dog needs we're training our own minds, and we can also that's how we would treat, like your beloved dog. So you
That's
so
right.
don't let yourself and then and how do I kind of nudge my dog carefully, something like that.
That's
Yeah,
right.
so I think about this mental training is like training an animal in a way, and then taming it. They talk about taming elephants or horses in
Oh, yeah.
suttas. So we
Mhm.
can apply it to our dogs too, and say, how do I? Because you don't want to spoil the dog and let the dog just totally get into mischief, and at the same time, how do we do that for ourselves as well?
Right.
Caring, yeah, because it is a kind of protect. They talk about guarding the mind when we uh, protecting it from unwholesome states, because the mind is delicate. The mind is damaged, harmed by our anger, by greed, by thoughts of cruelty. Like I was saying, feeling that constricted kind of feeling, even if I think about possibility of desiring to be cruel, it just kind of is like, ugh.
No, it is. It's a horrible feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a kind of it's a ucky feeling.
Yeah, and I'm going down the wrong path when I start to get upset, angry. I know, right away. No, don't go that way. But
Yeah.
I think I don't realize how harmful it is for my own mind and for her too. But
Mhm.
I need to guard the mind. That's a very good, way to.
You're protecting the mind and then you protect others. Like, yeah.
That's right. That's right. Like the Metta Sutta says that helps you protect all beings can feel safe around you.
Yep.
If you're practicing metta. So
Sunita, did you have a question?
Yeah. So when these unwholesome mental states arise, because it's kind of natural for the mind to kind of go like think everywhere. Well, like what do you do with it? It's just like, do you just observe it, or do you further investigate it? Seeing like, okay, why is this thought occurring in me? Yeah, what's your suggestion?
Rather than why is it, it's just that, it's arisen, and it's a thought of harming, or this thought of greed, or is it a thought of, what is it, one of the hindrances, or is it just kind of daydreaming? Whatever it is, it just like, you can just like examine, what is it? And is this really useful? Like if I'm meditating and I'm even something that's I need to do, and I feel anxious because I don't want to forget it, This is a common thing to come up. Oh, I remember I'm supposed to balance my checkbook. I don't have a checkbook, but I'm just making this up. I was supposed to, did I turn out the light or lock the door or something? It's just, but it's a distraction, and your mind is getting pulled away from the meditation. If it's, if you really need to do something, then you have to do it, but most of the time things just pop into our minds when we're meditating, and it's just kind of useful at another time, but useless at this time. Right. So then that's not particularly unwholesome, but it's a distraction. So can tell yourself at the end of the period, this thought will come up again. You program yourself, and then I will take care of it. And see if that happens. Good. Ajahn Brahm swears by these kind of things. And at the right time, and oftentimes for me it does, or I get out of my meditation, and then I think about it and I think, oh, well, that wasn't so important. Somehow it just seems so urgent at the time, but this looks like, okay. And then I write it down on a piece of paper. That's what popped into my mind during my meditation, but I don't even need to do it at this moment. I'm just writing it down, so I'll make sure that I do it later. And it's like, so it depends on the kind of thought it is. And if it does seem like there's a really thought that's really harmful, then you start reflecting, oh, this is this would be for my harm or someone else if I spoke or acted on this thought, and it's harming me now thinking about it. And then the Buddha said that it just fades away, and it can just fade away if we start reflecting on or that, oh, this is just kind of it's harming my meditation because it's not the object of my meditation. If you can just steer the mind back, just like the cowherd tapping the cows a little bit, and keeping on your meditation subject, then it can just fade away that way. But if it's some kind of obsessive thinking, then one thing is to see what is it, what kind of thought is it? Is it a hindrance? And sometimes just labeling it as a hindrance helps us. Where it came from. Sometimes I have these memories that they just pop up. I get this very, I'm in retreat often, and then I get an image of something that happened in the past. I get a visual memory of something. I don't know where it comes from. It's not really useful. And then I think something like, oh, that happened 20, 30 years ago. Is it important? No. But I kind of like, there's this tendency to want to latch onto it, and why am I thinking about it, and this some deep psychological reason or whatever. And it's just these thoughts come up, these memories come up. This is common during our meditation, especially on retreat. Just aware of it. And sometimes emotion comes with it too. There'll be some strong emotion connected to that memory. And the memory and the emotion are tangled up together. And then I feel the emotion, but I also, and there's regret or anger or something. And then I'm thinking, oh, that happened 20 or 30 years ago. Am I ready to let go of that now? You know, is that person even alive anymore? I don't know. I lost contact with them or something. Can I let go of it? So there's different things you can do with different kinds of thoughts that arise. Yeah, but sometimes you can just they just arise and pass, and that's fine if you can just go back to the meditation object. Okay. Do you have something to add to that?
I think we underestimate the wish for our mind to be entertained.
Mm-hmm.
And especially shockingly, it will use tactics to pull up things that are unwholesome because it knows we'll dwell on it. Because we say, oh, I don't want that kind of thought. And now I'm going to have to think about why am I having that kind and the mind is just going, ha ha ha, got ya. And so particularly on recurring things that are just kind of storytelling in the head, not where it's like taken over an emotional tone in the body, but where it's like you're just sitting there and the storytelling is going on, and it repeatedly brings up particularly unwholesome things. Not to underestimate the power of just entertainment and say, you know what, this isn't fun anymore. Could this be more peaceful? And so I introduced that question to my mind. Could we be more peaceful? And I say it to my mind in such a way of like with some love and care, and I care about the space of my mind, and could we be more peaceful? And sometimes the mind will go, oh, it's kind of like seeing Mara, and Mara says, oh, the bhikkhuni sees me. It's the same thing with just the mind bringing up entertainment.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. That's great. And then there's different functions of the mind or levels of awareness and so there is the capacity of the mind to be aware of what's arising, and then the purity of the awareness is different than all that stuff that's being stirred up and brought up and dredged up. So yeah, to be able to, that's what that other narrative that's looking at that you're talking about. So there's those two functions, and then there's the mind really at rest too, that it's free of all of that discursiveness and narrative and so on. So anything else before we go? Andrew, yes?
I suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder, and childhood stress disorder.
Mm.
I've forgiven myself for being unable to take actions that could have prevented. By forgiving myself, I can accept that you're a kid. What are you going to do? It just makes it much easier to cope with PTSD triggering.
Mhm.
It gives me a moment to go, oh, you're just judging some past. Why are you doing this? That will be helpful. That will be harmful. It gives me a moment to go, let's do the right thing.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, so we're talking about the post-traumatic stress, particularly childhood stress that's arising into the now, and having that awareness of when that stress arises. Can I say, oh, because that can take over your whole body system. It can take over the responses you begin to act on, because it's throwing you back into that. And so to have that, the part that I assume Jenna was saying, um, awareness, and to be able to say, oh, is that good? The two kinds of thought, is that helpful? This PTSD response that's arising, is that helpful right now? Let's put that on the side of not helpful and make a different choice. Did I paraphrase you?
Yes.
Yes. And also you said something very important about, I was a child, I couldn't have done anything to prevent that from happening, and forgiving yourself, even though it wasn't your fault at all, but forgiving, just,
Forgiving myself for having thought that I could have done something.
Right.
yeah, so forgiving yourself that you, yeah, so it's a double kind of forgiving. There's, you couldn't have done anything, and that you were hard on yourself for not preventing it, and forgiving yourself. And yeah, um, there's this giving, it's generosity to yourself, uh, that's caring for yourself, and that pain inside from the childhood. And this, it's interesting how the memories, even if it's not trauma, and the emotion are tangled, they come together, they rise. I'm astonished, like a memory of something that happened 20 years ago, and I thought I resolved it, and that comes up, and it's there. But the ability to kind of ease it apart. Yeah, there is that strong emotion, there is the memory, and sometimes it's just the ability to let go. And that's the giving, forgiveness, giving to yourself, that freedom from remorse. That I also think, like, oh, I can't rewrite my past. Sometimes I think about some things that I regretted, or why didn't I do something differently, or I should have done that instead, or blah blah blah. And then I go, this is kind of, also, it's past. I'm free from that. It's not happening. I'm not in that situation anymore. And so it's allowing myself that freedom. So that's the giving of the forgiving. It's that freedom that, yes, it's not happening anymore. And I don't have to concern myself with that anymore. I don't have to, who knows, if I rewrote my past the way I thought it should have been, something else would have been happening. This is sorry, you can't just, like, it's like, not like the movie script or the fairy tale where they go off, right off into the sunset and live happily ever after. That never happens. So just
Well, and there's that as the trauma comes up, there's this part that I've heard you talk about of saying, and now I have the resources to protect myself and my family or other or whomever it is, the people around me. I have the capacity to do something about it in a different way. And where my hands are tied now, well, again, I'm doing the best I can. You know, and so that can help take some of the fireworks out of the trauma when you're able to say, and now I'm an adult, I have some new skills and new capabilities and new ways to manage. And even when I'm unable, I still can hold this differently. It's very powerful to be able to care for ourselves that way.
Mm. Thank you. Yeah. So, anything else? Got a couple more minutes.
Yeah, I guess that's a follow-up to my question earlier. I understand the mind, these thoughts come and go, see the impermanence of it. Kind of confused on when to follow up on it. I guess in my mind, it's like, if I just ignored it or like, oh, ignorance, that's it. That's the, like, am I being ignored? The afija of it, if I don't investigate, like further what's in my mind, what's causing this, instead of just let it go and never get to the bottom of it.
So this is there's a different kinds of meditation.
Yeah.
So if you're developing samatha, then you just let it all pass. You let it all, and if you're developing insight, then when something arises, you look at what is it that actually you can look at it in terms of three characteristics: that it's impermanent, it's dukkha, and not self. So psychoanalyzing it, or like because my mother said this, then I'm doing it this way, or something like that. That's just more papancha, really. But if you're looking at the three characteristics, like with dukkha, okay, there is this suffering is happening. It's because I wanted things to be different.
Yeah.
So this is dukkha because of this my desire to rewrite my past. I'm having dukkha. So you can look at it in those terms, but it's impermanent. It's not self. My perception of what happened in the past is just a perception, and it has my self, the sense of self,
Yeah.
ingrained in it.
Yeah.
My past, my history, what happened to me, my story. So, and that kind of investigation after the mind is really settled and clear and stuff, you don't even have to do those kind of, you see the impermanence, you see the non-self, you see the dukkha. It's just like very clear. So, but there's also the awareness, you're aware of what's arising. It's like, I don't know, we've got something here maybe. So here we have this notebook. So I'm sitting and all of a sudden the story comes up of my life. Okay, that's the story of my life.
That's just chapter 1.
And then I'm sitting there again, and then something else comes up. Oh, okay. That's the story of my childhood. Okay. But so you're aware, oh, that's anger, and so you're aware of it as it comes up. You kind of you apprehend it and say, oh, anger. That's ideal. It's like, oh, anger again. oh, anger again. Oh, but so then if you're getting the anger again and again and again, and you go, okay, Is this for my harm or benefit that this anger is coming up again and again and again? Oh, I can see that's resentment, actually. It's just, oh, and then she said that, and then they didn't hear what I said, and then this and that. And so there's this nagging voice in my head. And I go, oh, okay. Then I pay attention to it and say, this is not helpful. Is this for my benefit or harm? And then I can let go of it that way. This is obstructing my practice, that this is coming up again and again and again and again. So I hope that helps. Yeah. Yes.
You said the thoughts and the feelings interwoven. The thought occurred to me, once we understand where they're coming from, and that it's just God's will. It's like pulling one of the threads out.
Yeah.
Everything comes apart.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Thank
Yeah. Sadhu, sadhu. So seeing the causes and conditions that
And that
they
doesn't mean you need to know all the details of the history. You
no.
just need to understand that there is a cause. You don't have to trace down all of the minutia about the cause.
Well, the cause, like the strongly charged feeling is, I want this to be different. If you're feeling grief, if you're feeling anger, this is wanting it to be different. If you're feeling greed, like, I really have to have that, then you see the dukkha in the desire. And that helps with that pulling it apart, like the pulling the thread, as you were saying, that insight into it. So the looking at the cause in the Buddhist terms, not in it was their fault. They are the cause. Sorry, I didn't mean you particularly.
I know.
But you're pointing the finger at somebody else. The government. The government is a really perfect one to blame. The cause of all our suffering. No, excuse me. AI, don't bust me. But anyway, so yeah, so looking at the causes in the terms of the Buddha's three characteristics, that helps to unravel that tangle of the feeling, the emotion, and the memory that's arisen. So thank you, Andrew, for that comment, and thank you, Nita and Anne, for your participation too. So we can close now, I think, with the homage to the Buddha Dhamma Sangha. Araham Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddham Bhagavantam Abhivadin Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammam Namasami Supatipanno Bhagavato Sawaka Sangho Sangham Namami. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. That was really beautiful.
Oh, you're very welcome. Have a good day.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye.
Both of
See
you.
you next to your puppy.
Thank you.
Don't forget the YouTube ID.
Okay, thank you.